When I bought my very first property, I lost over $30,000 on it, and it put me in a very bad place in terms of money. I had less cash in the bank than it cost to make all those repairs. And so what I had to do was I borrowed money from my dad and paid him an interest rate on that money. I borrowed about $23,000 because I had no cash in the bank to afford those initial repairs. Now, this video, I'm going to help you avoid getting into that position where you are losing money and you don't have enough money to afford things like repairs, renovations, etc. Now, the very first thing I make sure to do, or the very first thing I would have done differently if I were to go back and redo that first property, is I would have made sure I have at least $10,000 to $15,000 in emergency funds. The reason you want to have this amount of emergency funds is because you never know when something's going to break down at your property or you're going to have to repair or replace something. On that very first property, I had a sewage line break and all this sewage was coming out of the kitchen sink all over the floors and backing up in the showers, and it was an emergency. It cost me over $9,000 just to replace the lines, sanitize the area, and I just did not expect to put that much money into my very first property in just repair costs. And so what you want to do is make sure you have that safety money set aside in addition to having your normal down payment. Now, another thing you can do is a strategy called house hacking. So house hacking is where you live in one room and you rent out the other bedrooms. And what's good about house hacking is that you're allowed to put a much lower down payment on the property. So you have less money tied up into the down payment. You're allowed to put as low as a 3 to a 3.5% down payment, depending on what type of loan you do in a house hack. And what's cool about the house hack is you don't have to pay rent. Instead, you pay a mortgage, but your tenants are the ones actually paying the mortgage down for you. So essentially, you can live for free and have your tenants kind of start paying off the property so that you get equity into the property. So it's a win-win situation for everyone, as long as you don't mind staying with other housemates. And I personally do this in Sacramento, where I live in one bedroom, the master bedroom, and I rent out the other rooms to Sacramento State students. And it's been going very well, and it's again a very good way to really save money on rent costs. And it also gives you more money that you can use to renovate your property, to hire the right people, hire the right contractors, and continue to scale and buy more properties. Because you have let's say only a 3% or 3.5% down on that property, maybe you only have 10,000 or 15,000 tied up into the property as the down payment. That leaves you with whatever you have left over to go ahead and make those renovations or continue buying more properties, or at least have those emergency funds available. And finally, a lot of people see it as a great way to get your feet wet when getting started into real estate, because you're living at the house, you can see what's going on. And house hacking provides a very good hands-on experience because you get to see the repairs that are needed right in front of you, and then you can hire the proper handyman to make those repairs. Now, the next thing you have to realize is that you do not have to go into real estate all alone. I remember when I started investing in real estate, I felt like I was all alone. I was the only one doing this, but that's not the case. I discovered that over time, it's really important that you build a team. It's like, think about some of the Disney movies. Aladdin, he had the genie to help him. So every successful entrepreneur, successful real estate investor has some sort of helper. It could be a real estate mentor. It could be the realtor or the real estate agent. It could be maybe a property manager. But along the journey, you'll encounter these helpers and start building out your rock star team. Building a great team is like putting up guardrails or bumpers when you're going bowling. They really steer you in the right direction so that you can be successful. For example, let's say I am looking for properties that are great for college student housing, and I'm looking in this particular area, and I just want somebody to kind of help me vet these properties. Well, I have a rockstar real estate agent who does that for me. Same thing for lending. You'll have a lender who will help you gather all your financial documents and then send it out to multiple banks and then decide, okay, what's the best bank that's going to give me the very best lending terms? What's the cheapest interest rate that I can get? What's the lowest cost loan cost that I can get? And they will basically do all that work for you. It's called a mortgage broker. And having that person on your team is really essential because you'll save a lot of money on the lending. Same thing for contractors. You need a rockstar contractor who can basically, you call them up, they know exactly what's going on, and they know exactly how to fix maintenance issues at the property. And having that person on your team is so important because, in my case, I was struggling to find people when my sewage line broke. And if I had that rock star handyman or rock star contractor available, I could have just made a phone call to him and I wouldn't have to like babysit the whole project along the way. So that's really important, is you make sure you don't go into real estate alone. Start building up a team around yourself so that you can really become successful. There's a saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you want to make sure that you have a team behind you. And a lot of times they will fill in the knowledge gaps for you. For example, if you don't know how to save money in taxes, it's really important you get a good accountant so that they can show you, oh yeah, as a real estate investor, you have all of these tax benefits that you can go ahead and take advantage of, and they'll tell you exactly how to take advantage of those. Now, the final thing I would highly recommend you do to really save money and to reduce your risk of losing money is to do something called pre-selling. This basically means that when you get an offer accepted on the property, you want to sell the product before you finish closing on the property. And so what I do is like a coming soon ad. I say, coming soon, we have this whole house available for a group of tenants. I usually rent by the room, so I will say, hey, we have these rooms available in this price range at this house. It's coming soon. It'll be available in August later. And you might be worried that you are selling a product that you don't completely own. So there's some ethical concerns there. So to make sure that this is not an issue, what I do is I wait until my offer is accepted on the property so that there is a very strong likelihood that I will end up buying and closing on that property before I even post my ad. So a lot of times there's almost a guarantee that the property will be available, and that's when I feel comfortable posting that ad. Another thing you have to realize is in the worst case scenario where you fail on buying that property, a lot of times the leads that you have, they will just find somebody else. There's so many other landlords out there that they will just move on to the next landlord. Now, the final bonus tip I will give you is it's very important to make sure that you have high quality tenants and that you target high quality tenants in your marketing. So what I do is I look for graduate students and healthcare professionals to fill my bedrooms. And the reason I target that population is a lot of times they're really focused on their studies. They are therefore great tenants. They usually take care of the property. They're more mature. And you want to have the right tenant because the tenant is your Achilles heel in real estate investing. So if you find the wrong tenant, a tenant who doesn't pay rent or a tenant you have to evict, it ends up costing you way more than if you were just to wait an extra 2 or 3 weeks and take your time to find the right tenant to place into that property. So that's my bonus tip for you guys. Just really make sure that you do the marketing, you vet your tenants, and be patient with bringing in the right tenant rather than jumping the gun, choosing a tenant who might not be as qualified, who might cause problems later on, just to fill up your vacancy. So I hope those tips were very helpful for you guys and help you to not make the same mistakes that I made and lose the money that I lost on my very first rental. On your very first rental, I hope you take these tips into account and do your best to really set aside that money, make sure you're in a good position, financial position when you're buying your first property. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with your friends who are struggling with getting started in real estate investing. Thank you again, and I'll see you on the next week video.